classroom was unusually quiet that morning, the kind of silence that didn't feel peaceful but heavy, like the air itself was waiting for something to break. Sunlight slipped through the tall windows, landing on rows of desks filled with restless students, most of them whispering, laughing softly, or scrolling on their phones when they thought no one was looking. At the very back of the room sat the new girl. Her name was Aaliyah Carter, but almost no one knew it yet. She kept her head down, hands folded neatly on her desk, her posture straight in a way that suggested discipline rather than fear. She had been in the school for less than 2 weeks, and already she had mastered the art of being invisible. She didn't speak unless spoken to. She didn't react when others stared. She didn't flinch when comments were made under people's breath. She had learned long ago that silence was safer. Standing at the front of the room was Mrs. Evelyn Harper, the history teacher. She was known for being strict, though students whispered another word when she wasn't around. Bitter. Her thin lips were pressed into a permanent line, her sharp eyes scanning the room like she was always looking for someone to challenge. She had been teaching for over 20 years and believed that experience alone gave her the right to judge. That morning she held a stack of graded tests in her hand, tapping them against the desk as she spoke. Her voice was cold, clipped, and carried easily through the room. She announced that several students had failed, her tone almost satisfied as she did. Then she paused, lifted one paper, and called out Aaliyah's name. Aaliyah stood slowly, her chair barely making a sound. She kept her eyes forward, respectful, calm. Mrs. Harper held up the test like it was evidence in a trial. "This score," she said, "is suspiciously high." A murmur rippled through the class. Mrs. Harper tilted her head, staring at Aaliyah with open disbelief. "You expect me to believe that? You, a transfer student who barely speaks, suddenly understands advanced historical analysis better than students who've been here for years." The room grew quieter. Aaliyah swallowed but didn't respond. Mrs. Harper sighed dramatically. "I've seen this before. Students like you think they can cheat their way ahead." The word liar didn't come immediately. Mrs. Harper let the accusation hang, savoring it. Then she said it loud and clear. "You lied, you cheated, and now you're standing here pretending you're innocent." A few students exchanged uncomfortable looks. Others smirked. Aaliyah felt heat rise in her chest, but her face remained still. She spoke softly, her voice steady but barely above a whisper. "I didn't cheat, ma'am." That was all she said. It wasn't defiance. It was truth. Mrs. Harper laughed, a short, humorless sound. "Of course you didn't," she said sarcastically. "I suppose next you'll tell us you just magically knew all the answers." She leaned forward, her voice lowering but sharpening. "Where I come from, we value honesty, and I won't have someone like you making a fool of this classroom." The implication was clear, and everyone felt it. The room shifted uncomfortably. Aaliyah's hands clenched for a moment, then relaxed. She had heard worse before. Mrs. Harper wasn't done. "Sit down," she snapped, "and don't insult my intelligence again." Aaliyah obeyed, her movements controlled, her face unreadable. But something in the air changed. The silence was no longer just heavy, it was tense. Aaliyah stared at her desk, her mind drifting far from the classroom. She remembered early mornings, polished boots lying neatly by the door, a deep voice reminding her that integrity was everything. She remembered being taught that respect was earned, not demanded, and she remembered being told, again and again, to never reveal more than necessary. The bell rang, but no one moved. Mrs. Harper was mid-sentence when there was a knock at the door, a sharp, deliberate knock. She frowned, clearly irritated at the interruption. "Yes?" she barked. The door opened, and a man stepped inside. The room seemed to shrink the moment he entered. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his presence commanding without him saying a single word. His uniform was immaculate, dark green, decorated with ribbons and medals that caught the light. 4 silver stars rested on his shoulders. Every student froze. Even Mrs. Harper stopped breathing for a moment. The man's eyes swept the room calmly, assessing, controlled. "Good morning," he said, his voice deep and measured. "I'm looking for Aaliyah Carter." Aaliyah's head lifted for the first time. Her eyes met his. There was no surprise there, only recognition. She stood. Chairs scraped as students stared wide-eyed. Mrs. Harper stammered, trying to regain control. I'm sorry, sir, but this is a class in session." The man turned his gaze to her, and the temperature in the room dropped. "I'm aware," he said. "This won't take long." He looked back at Aaliyah, his expression softening just slightly. "Are you all right?" Aaliyah nodded once. "Yes, sir." That single word, "sir," landed like thunder. Whispers exploded. A general, a 4-star general, in their classroom. Mrs. Harper's face went pale. "Sir," she said quickly, forcing a smile, "there must be some mistake. This student has been causing issues." The general raised a hand, and she stopped mid-sentence. "Issues?" he repeated calmly. "From what I heard outside that door, the only issue here is an accusation made without evidence." He stepped further into the room. "You called her a liar." No one breathed. Mrs. Harper opened her mouth, then closed it. The general continued, his voice steady but heavy with authority. "Aaliyah Carter is my daughter." Gasps filled the room. "She was raised in a household where integrity is non-negotiable.